Hey everyone, this is Justin from Oracle Lighting here. Today we're going to take a look at the Oracle V-Series bulbs in comparison to these bulbs from Beamtech. We don't normally do these types of comparison videos, but we actually have been getting a lot of questions about these bulbs in particular. They're really cheap on Amazon, and people want to know what makes your bulbs better than these cheaper ones from Amazon. So let's go ahead and take a look today, try to compare them and see what the difference is. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what's in the box. On the Beamtech kit, we don't have too much information here, but we've got an instruction manual, and then we've got the bulb itself here, and the Oracle kit. We've got the bulb here. So we wanted to know a little bit more information about what chips are used on these Beamtech bulbs, but unfortunately, Beamtech doesn't have a phone number anywhere on their website, anywhere on their manual, or anywhere that we could find anywhere. So unfortunately, we weren't able to find out any more information about the types of chips that they're using here, but the Oracle bulb uses a Samsung FCCSP setup. Let's go ahead, test them out, and see how they perform against one another. All right, so we're over here in our test room. We've got a Silverado headlight here. We're going to be testing a couple different 9006 bulbs. 20 feet away, we've got our lux meter set up. That's basically going to tell us the brightness of each bulb. What we'll do is go ahead and shine the light down there, and then we'll articulate the light a little bit to make sure we're hitting the hot spot. The lux meter will be set on max to get the max reading. We've got a cutoff line set up to show if there's any sort of glare or any other anomalies going on where the light's not projecting a nice smooth pattern. And the last thing we have is our power supply here, so we can actually monitor how much current each bulb's drawing and then compare that back to the lumens or lux that it's creating in order to determine the efficacy of the bulb. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, on many vehicles, especially Canadian vehicles, the low beam is designed to run at 6 volts as a daytime running light. And for a lot of LED bulbs, if it tries to run at 6 volts, it's either going to strobe like crazy or just shut off, which really defeats the purpose of having a daytime running light. So while not every single vehicle is going to need this to operate at 6 volts, it's still good to have a wide input range when it comes to your LED headlight bulb. As you can see, before we get even close to 6 volts, the bulb shuts down. On the other hand, with the Oracle bulb, as we start decreasing the voltage going into the bulb, you'll see that it continues to operate all the way down to 6 volts. All right, so the results are in, and as you can see, not only is the Oracle bulb brighter, but it's also more efficient. So it has more luminous efficacy, and that's a good indicator that the Oracle bulb is a higher quality bulb in general. So now that we've determined the results, let's go ahead and look at these bulbs by their components. We're going to disassemble them and show how the components compare to each other. One thing to point out is that the LEDs are not in the correct position for 9006. They're off by a few millimeters, which may not seem like a big deal, but it is going to affect the way the light disperses and whether or not there's glare. It's way cheaper to develop one board and use it across all your LED headlight bulbs rather than developing multiple boards for specific applications. First thing to note is that they're using an aluminum circuit board here. So obviously aluminum's not the best material when it comes to thermal properties. Basically, the idea is that you want to pull as much heat away from this LED as you can, because that's going to extend the lifetime of that LED. Aluminum's not really the way to do it. It's a cheaper way to do it, but not the best way. Yeah, I mean, not really too much here. A good reason why this bulb's so inexpensive or cheap on Amazon is that it's there's just not a lot of components here to drive the cost up. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Oracle bulb. All right, so the first thing you'll notice is that this bulb actually uses a copper circuit board. So it's a single copper circuit board for both sides of the LEDs. So copper is going to have much better thermal properties. It's going to be wicking away heat away from the LEDs at a much better rate. That's going to extend the life of the LEDs. Again, it's more expensive to do copper, but it's the right way to do it. So now with the shaft removed, you can see we can't really see too much of the components because these bulbs are fully potted. And the reason that they're fully potted is because if you pot them, moisture can't get in there. Water can't get in there. It's going to make everything last a whole lot longer. So if this potting resin wasn't here, you'd be able to see a component that this other bulb doesn't have, and that's a integrated circuit by Texas Instruments, and what that is part of the ATR system. So it automatically monitors the bulb temperature, and what that does is basically allows it to throttle back the current a little bit just to be able to let the bulb cool down if it does start to overheat. and once the bulb temperature normalizes again, it goes back to full current. So combining both these active and passive thermal regulation methods, these bulbs have a very high level of durability, and we rarely see any sort of issues with these bulbs. We set out to answer the question, why are the Oracle bulbs more expensive? And besides being brighter and more efficient, we've already shown that these have components that the other bulbs simply don't have. You can make your own decision and decide which bulbs are best for you. And of course, if there's anything you feel like we left out or you want to leave a comment, do so in the comments section. You could also call us at 1-800-475-776 or visit us at oraclelights.com.